Alright, hello everyone. Me and the bonk stick. We are here. So, we're gonna be heading over to Denholm. There you go. We're gonna be heading over to Denholm, the commander here for the Camelotian soldiers. I hope he's awake. It's a little bit early. No, he's here.
Eyes forward and mind your step.
Yes, hello. So I decided this time I'm gonna give the tablets to him and explain it all to him and see what happens.
That's wonderful news. You've made the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Believe me, for a favor like this, Kamelot will knight you the moment you set foot in the capital. For now, though, you'll have to settle for this rather hefty purse.
Alright, what happens now? Time to meet with Yvain and make him realize there's no hope.
Now we'll inform Yvain that everything is ready. We're packing up the Menhir and heading for Kamelot, and anyone with any sense will come along with us. I saw Yvain wavering in his decision, but without any hope of awakening the Menhir in Connacht, all of his efforts were in vain. Let's meet in the audience chamber. We have to see the look on his face for ourselves.
Terrible. Also, I think that there are a couple of things I want to do, but I think I will go through Arthur's memories today, so it will probably be a lot of talking later. But that'll be how I end it. So I'll probably play for a half hour and then talk to Arthur, if I had to guess. Well, I had hoped that he would at least light Quannock's men here first, before he left, but I guess not. That was the way he sold it to me.
Everything will be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
It's over, Lord Yvain. The time has come to take the Menhir to Kamelot. If you care for your people, prove it. The Menhir is fading, and there's no way to reignite it. You know perfectly well that this is the only option.
I know the Menhir is fading, and nothing can stop that, but its power still lingers. I haven't yet exhausted every means to bring it back to life.
And how exactly do you plan to do that, huh? Your druid is useless, and I've never heard of any way to restore a Menhir's power other than Merlin's old rituals.
You're right. The rituals are lost, but the Menhir stays where it is. At least until I return from the expedition for the Holy Grail. That is Camelot law. An ancient one that neither you nor any of the Knights of the Round Table can break.
What? So you've really thought this through, haven't you? But hear this. If the Menhir's power is completely depleted, we'll have no choice but to leave for Kamelot. Protecting the lives of Camelot's subjects takes precedence over any holy mission. That's King Arthur's decree.
I am aware. But you have no authority to order a return to Kamelot until the Menhir has completely faded. I know the old laws, Denholm. That's why I choose to evoke them. I will lead an expedition to find the Holy Grail. Such is my will.
Well, if that is the will of the Lord of Connacht, then Kamelot will have no choice but to acknowledge it. I'll report this to command. They're in for a surprise. Stay and see if you can talk some sense into him. If he's set on this expedition, well, if he's so eager to die, I won't stand in his way.
I'm sorry you had to witness that unpleasant exchange. You heard what Denholm said. Kamelot won't dare touch the Menhir as long as I lead the expedition for the Holy Grail. Once again, I need your help, and I'm prepared to grant whatever you ask in return.
What do you need?
People I can trust. Those prepared to share the burden of this quest for the Grail. I can't command anyone to join me. They must come of their own free will. Otherwise, the expedition is doomed to fail before it even begins. And, as you've likely noticed, I'm not exactly beloved by my subjects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why don't your people respect you?
I suppose I brought it on myself with my indecision. When Camelot came and began pillaging our resources, I stayed silent. Though I shouldn't have. At the time, I thought I had no choice. If I refused Camelot's forces, I risked bringing war to Connacht. But I also couldn't bring myself to order my people to leave outright. You can't live your life trying to balance on the fence. But that's exactly what I did. I hoped everyone would be happy. Now, of course, no one is.
Okay. Could the Grail really ignite the men here? Reignite it?
I have no idea. But I also have no other choice. I will find the Grail or die trying. I owe it to my people. Those who still believe I can save their homes and their land. My only regret is that I acted so late. Denholm is right. The Minhir is fading. If we fail to return with the Grail in time, the people of Connacht will be forced to leave for Kamelot or face death here.
Who would you want to join you on such a quest?
I would start by looking among the most trusted and eldest members of our community. Our priestess, Niante, possesses unparalleled talent in healing. Her presence would certainly be invaluable on such a journey. Then there's Erfyr, a skilled blacksmith who was once a formidable warrior. If not for the strength of his muscles, the strength of his mind could prove useful. You might also speak with Maggot. Since the two of you have been through so much together, he may not be thrilled by the idea, but I believe his heart is still in the right place.
What do you think will convince them to join?
It's hard to say, and that only proves how much I've lost touch with my own people. Even those as respected as these three. Still, try to approach them with kindness. They all have their demons, and I doubt they'll agree to join if they are still tethered by unresolved matters.
Alright, I'll ask what they think about the expedition.
Thank you. And believe me, the reward you'll receive for your efforts will be priceless. And whether they agree or not, I will set out for the Grail. I will buy more time for Connacht.
Okay. 7,000 experience, eh?
You need something.
No, I'm good. Maybe Niante. Sorry, I thought it didn't even mention Maggot in the quest there. Oh, I can persuade Maggot. Yeah. So, in the lore, Maggot cannot be... Well, Maggot does not join the first expedition. There is a second
Didn't
one.
expect to see you here.
And that's the one that he joins. So, I'm going to see if there's a way that I can't convince him and continue the story, because that must be what happens then. Currently, my assumption is that... Right. I don't remember exactly how much time passes between the moment that they leave for the expedition and the Fall of Avalon board game, but this is where it's confusing, because at first I thought there was years, but I suppose it has to be a few months, bordering on weeks. You know, it's probably like a year at the most, you might be able to argue. And you could probably also argue it's like 2 weeks. So, it's anywhere between there. But anyways, the things I wanted to do is, for one, something that I've kept this entire time is an amulet that's found somewhere around there. So I want to get it. It's the ogre amulet of something meaning. So I want to head over there when I find it, and I'll show you it. Currently what I have equipped, by the way, is this one, the Amulet of Novice Ogre Hunting. So what's really nice is when you have full health, deal 33% additional damage. I'm wondering if the New Game Plus ups that. If it does, that'd be nice. But it definitely does help with damage output. So I thought, you know what, why can't we just do it together? We'll take a little stroll. You guys have seen, well, I'm assuming you guys have already seen me talk to the others. I'm going to do it again, but I thought it would be a little bit fun. Ogre slaying. Whoops. Sorry, Navira.
Company.
Well, you tried. I'll give you that, bro. Are we back clear? Yeah, it looks like.
Your gold belongs to us now.
Poor guy. He didn't even stand a chance. Let's be honest. Okay. Yeah, there is some stuff around here. I don't remember exactly where, but there is something good. It's been a while. I thought that there was a like small shrine. I don't know. It's been a little while. I don't need that. Also, I'm shocked that my sneak is so low. Oh well. I'll find it another day. Yeah, so the ogre is up there. We'll head in. Hello, Mr. Bear. Good lamb. Also, at some point, I am going to lose my arm intentionally, which is going to be pain, and I'm going to have to talk to this guy. Because I did see, which I'll probably devote a whole episode to that, because I'm going to have to go all the way back to Horns of the South, do all the quests relating to becoming a Stone Warden, come to this guy, become a Stone Warden, lose my hand, come back, and be like, hey, can you fix it? For those of you who didn't finish the playthrough before, I did, well, I didn't lose my hand, but I did kind of go over this a little bit. Can you not get through? Must be another way. Damn. Going in. Yeah, so you just have to kill the ogre, and I think that there was like a failed, you know, mercenary that had some cool stuff. Does he have good stuff on him? Great axe. That probably doesn't sell all too well, actually. I do. Alright. Yeah, he's at the top. I thought that there was an elevator, but maybe I'm wrong. I do. Another great axe, eh? Like a good landing spot here? Why is this ledge here? Seems scary. Alright, we're here. Hello? Does he have the sword? Yeah, that Gladius is probably better. Well, it's better than the axe in terms of weight to gold ratio. Okay, place your bets. How many hits is it gonna take? Hello, buddy. 1. Wow. 2. Poor guy. There we go. Novice hunter. Oh, I thought that you were like got it off this guy's body. I was wrong. All right, let's see if it's any better. Wow, almost double. Yeah, I'd say that that's better. So now my damage output is even higher. Love it. Love it. I also do like this place. I don't know. You know what I love in certain games is the ability to like... Oh, I should have taken that, but that's okay. Is to essentially commandeer areas and to essentially like make it your own. I love that so much in games. It would be so cool to like, you know, rebuild this type of a thing. I love that in games. It's so rare as well, but I mean, I'm sure that it would be very difficult, and probably the cost reward to the developers is probably not the best. Hello. Whoops. There you go. Have a nice fight. Just take it all. I don't think I can make that jump. Well, I know I survived no matter what, but... Now, I can't imagine, right? Ooh, so close. Alright. I'm sure I could have gotten that in a better way. Looks like I already did this one. Yes. Okay. Can't make that jump. I can just walk up. Howdy. I do think it's funny that they just don't notice me a lot of the time. I mentioned it before, but it does kind of feel like a bug. Because I just don't know how they couldn't notice.
Prepare for battle.
Oh, hello. Did not expect you there, buddy. Okay. So we are a good amount stronger. And yeah. I should probably read this in case I need it for lore. I doubt I do. Whoops. If I ever talk about Connacht, that might come up. I mean, I will. We'll do a geography episode on Connacht. Which, by the way, you know, originally Connacht is just like this tiny place in the world. You know, it doesn't feel like it's much more than like, you know, 20 people or 20 families or something. At the most. Yeah, maybe like 15. But yeah, that's kind of always how it felt. Must have already grabbed his stuff. But yeah, so it is kind of weird because it's like it never felt like Crooked Trail. What was that? I don't remember. I must have done it, but yeah, because it's like it never felt like it was this huge place where there's like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a castle in the distance and another broken castle in the distance, and then there's the underwater castle in the distance, and then there's the temple in the distance, and then there's the waterworks in the distance, and then there's the old village in the distance. And then also it's like to the north, right? This area is like a old keep, and then over here is another village. Right, so you have all this different stuff that just, it's like, well, so hundreds upon hundreds of people must have lived here. You know, it's not easy to build a keep, like, right? It would take, you know, you're probably gonna need thousands of people to be from here. It's always just felt kind of weird with that. Also, when I was going through the TTRPG, man, they make it as though you have, like, in the bastions, where it's like the places where there is no weirdness, you have like hundreds, maybe a few thousand there. And that feels very strange to me. Isn't Erfyr? Erfyr's somewhere along here. Okay, I'll talk to him. Also, you may as well do these. Krokma, wolf pelts, marrow shells, now. But yeah. What was I talking about? I don't know. I'm sure I'll remember it. Hello.
If nobody's working the anvil, then it means the forge is closed, and it will stay closed until Beor gets better.
Uh-huh. Well, Lord Yvain is looking for trustworthy allies to join his quest for the Holy Grail.
Unless Beor gets better, I'm not opening the forge. Let alone thinking about any expeditions.
Okay, what happened?
A woman happened. He was chasing after some girl he thought the world of. Almost ended up shuffling right off this mortal coil. One time he went to see her and didn't come back for 2 days. I looked for him all night. It was only in the morning that I found him. He was all the way on the outskirts of Connacht. Alive, but barely. Afterwards, he seemed to be getting better. everything went back to normal. For a while, I could see that he was starting to struggle with swinging the hammer, until one day he just passed out completely. Now he just lies there, barely breathing. I have no idea how to help him. Nianti, Maggot, none of them know what's wrong with him either.
Mm-hmm.
Stupid kid. I
Whoops.
feel bad for him.
It was taking too long, so I thought I had to click, and then I clicked through the next one. In the Grow Lavender.
What do I care? Whatever happened there could have been her fault, so excuse me for not running to rescue her. I only know that she wasn't from here. Beor's wound wasn't caused by a mere boar, oh no. Hell knows what happened there.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so do you know where he was attacked?
He didn't want to tell me what actually happened. But I know that youngsters in love used to visit this one cave with a spring. It was all hogwash, if you ask me. Maybe they went there and were attacked by weird beasts or something. I don't know. To be fair, I don't give a damn now, and I didn't then either. I only cared that Beor was alive.
Okay. I suppose we can do that and then talk to Arthur. I haven't been playing for too long, so maybe that would make the most sense. So yeah, we can make Erfyr kind of happy and go from there. Alright, time to kill some straw children. I think that's what they're called, right? Straw children. Palamedes, the unwavering. Good man. Alright. Hello, mister. I don't remember this. It feels like someone needs to pick this up. Alright. Watch out. Oh yeah, I was talking about the population. That's what I was discussing before. Where are you? It's so hard to see them. That's the main problem with these guys. What are you doing? Whoa, I'm taking so much damage. Let's get out of there. Get back here. Yeah, the Strawfather has so much health. He definitely has the most health out of any opponent I fought. Okay. Strange. But yes, I was talking about population. So, in the lore videos, if you recall... I should be pressing F, that getting a bunch of unimportant stuff. But anyways, as you may recall, I had mentioned that I imagine it was about 1 million people that came with Arthur to Avalon. Now, I don't know if that's actually the right number. It's just my best guess. Right, it's what I'm assuming. However, you know, of course I could be wrong. But the reason why I made the number so big, I mean, this is a medieval setting, so it's like, you know, very low medieval ages, whatever, or early medieval ages. But the reason why I assumed it was close to 1 million is because we were told that nearly 1 million people, or sorry, not 1 million people. We were told that nearly 90% of those who came with Arthur died on the first year. So to me, that would essentially mean, well, I mean, you know, that has to be taken into consideration because there were instances in which the people had to fight these massive battles between the Four Dwellers. And when you look at the numbers, it's like, you know, it seems so very bizarre. I actually used an AI, you know, asked them to calculate what he would assume. Because what we're told is that there were dozens of these sieges with Tainted Grail. We're also just like the armies of the Four Dwellers are described to us as, you know, like the approximate size where they're in the thousands for sure. And it's something where it's like, okay, if this is the case where humans at the worst points in battles we're like losing, you know, 10 soldiers to one Four Dweller, and also right, they're like so much stronger than humans. When that's the case, it's like, okay, calculating this out, you know, how many soldiers would humanity reasonably need? And it's something where it's like the AI, you know, calculated it out, and it gave the number of close to 1 million soldiers. That's insane, because, you know, that's a little bit too high after calculating it out. And also it's like, you know, because it's like all the sheer number of battles. So I don't think that, you know, either the writers really didn't think about it in terms of the way that they described it. No. Nope. Not me. I killed her immediately last time. I might let her speak. But yeah, anyways. So it's like, that was very strange. But yeah, so my best guess is, I'm just saying 100,000, and I'm just essentially saying that, well, sorry. So I'm essentially saying that 1 million people came off the boat, and 90% of them died in the first year from starvation and sickness. That's what we're told. 9 out of 10 died that way. So then that left 100,000, and of those 100,000, right, about half of them being guys, because they didn't allow women in the army. So 50,000 went, you know, but the thing is, it's not all of them went to the army. So it's like, what, right, the majority of them did, 30,000, 40,000. You know, I mean, it's very far from the million, but I don't know. That's why I decided on 1 million. But it's like, right, for those of you who have read or listened to the lore stuff, like, there were countless times where it's like, man, almost everybody died. White buttons, nice. But yeah, so it was like, you know, all these times where it's like almost everybody died, and it sure feels like there had to have been thousands and thousands.
But you broke mine.
What? Broke your heart? I guess I went too fast.
Don't worry. Now we can forget all about it. Because you finally came back to me.
Uh-huh. I thought there was a way to talk to her. I guess not. Yours heart. Child's letter. Very sad. I don't know if I really need this Wordstone orb, but I do know it's valuable. Like, I believe it sells for a good price. Anything in the water? Nope. Okay. But yeah, anyway, in the TTRPG, it's like, you know, it makes it seem like Avalon's total population is close to 1,000 to like 2,000. And that feels really weird. Very, very peculiar indeed. So I guess it's just subject to interpretation, I guess, but it's a very different world than I imagine. And also with the size, the sheer size of Avalon, that feels a little bit strange. Because Avalon is gigantic, as I've mentioned it before. But if you take them literally in the lore, Avalon is larger than Australia, which is obviously huge. So to have, like, you know, 1,000 people living on Australia, that just feels strange. But, you know, I guess that's fine. But yeah. Looks like I could hop down there. Haunted well. Titanium. I'll take it. But yeah. Yeah, so I have essentially decided that Avalon is... What would probably make the most sense is that it's about the size of Ireland. To me. That feels... Like, the world that they've created, that feels a lot more reasonable. But even on the low estimate, I think it's like Ireland and Britain combined. Well, the UK. Which isn't terrible, but, you know. But with something that big, it does feel weird still to say that there's like 1,000 people there. That's like, you know, it's like nobody. Or, you know, upwards of 10,000. Oop. Let's sleep. And we'll complete this portion of the quest with Erfyr and then talk to Arthur. Hey, dude.
Really? Well, if this can put Beor back on his feet... Beor, your wound, it changed.
What? What happened? I don't remember much. There was a cave. And a girl? She touched me. I came back and dreamt. Then there's only darkness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how you end up with... That's how you end up when you think with the wrong head. Heartless.
That's right. And what did I always tell you about chasing after women, huh? She stole your heart. Literally. You're lucky this one showed up. Otherwise, I never would have guessed you fell in love with a weird beast.
Ouch.
Better take this to your grave if you don't want to become a laughingstock. You're so smart, and yet so stupid, eh? Well, get up now, whelp. Enough lazing about. You can take it easy today, but tomorrow you're back in the forge first thing in the morning. You've got a lot to catch up on.
I'm sorry.
And you, thank you. I'd thank the All-Mother for sending you at the last minute, but I don't want to owe her a thing. So, I'm thanking you. Finally, we can get back to work. I missed it. If you ever need a smith, you can come to me. All right, back to work.
You know what's funny is I've met people like Erfyr in my life for sure. Like that manipulation of Beor. Oh, you're so stupid. You should be listening to me all the time. Get back to work. Anyway, hello Erfyr.
Oh, hello. Do you need something? Times are tough, but I won't forget what you did for Beor. Tell me, how can old Erfyr repay you?
Erfyr. Yeah, can we talk about Yvain's expedition?
Beor is still wet behind the ears, and his heart is barely beating. Until I'm sure he can handle things, I can't leave him on his own.
Okay. Yeah, so I believe in the following day, he'll be out and about doing stuff. Beor, he'll like sit there and I can trade with him. I need to cure his bleeding heart and make him feel better. But I'll do that another time. I'm gonna see if I can't complete her quests.
If you're here to chat, you've wasted a trip. Speak up or ship out. I've got things to sort. Well, are you standing there for a reason, or is the scenery here all that captivating?
I swear. Can't they... Ugh. About the bounties. I don't have them. Never mind. See you later. I wish that they had like a nice person that you can have a romance with in this game. Alyssa is pain. Cine, I think is her name. She's a pain. And then you have Bayor. And he's a dude. Not interested. So right, we're just stuck. I mean, Alyssa's the best option because you can actually do stuff with her where you build up the place, whatever. It would have been cool to have one more. As I've said over and over again, I wish Syria, you could get to know her because she's fascinating because she's a Pict, and you already introduced her. You already have the voice actress. But anyway. Alright, yeah, we're going to be talking to Arthur. Let's find a nice place. Maybe have some scenery. Man, excuse me. Where would I want to go? Yeah, let's go over here. I was just over here. Awkward. Yeah, let's go over here. Yeah, what's a good spot? I kind of like the way this looks. Yeah. Yeah, this is probably good. If I can set it here, I can. Yeah, very cool. Alright, let's do a quick level up first. What am I gonna do? Let's grab a couple of these just to increase our encumbrance. And I am getting into bows a little bit. I want to get dexterity up to 20, even though it's not even that good. I'm not even using spirituality anymore, by the way. But that's okay. There's not really too much to do except for like Red Death stuff. I'm starting with a bunch of stacks at the moment. We should increase this to max. Right. So now we start with 35% additional damage when a combat begins. Killing an enemy gains stacks. I mean, I always get a kill. Right, crit grants you 2, not nearly as good as getting a kill. Yeah, we want to increase the maximum. So I guess we'll do that. And then I don't know what I'll do once Red Death is set. Like, once we do all those skills. But yeah.
Well, that man really hated me. That much is clear. But congratulations on standing your ground.
Man, who's he referencing? Oh, Caradoc. I've talked to him since then. Yeah, I talked to him after that. I don't know why it reset. Maybe it's because it's a new region. I don't know. Unless he's referencing right after Excalibur. He attacked me because of you. Do you know why?
No. It seems that I should, but I don't. He knew me, spoke with certainty, with anger. But to me, he's a stranger. If he was a part of my past, then that past has been taken from me. I need to regain it. That pin you took from his body, I remember it. I don't know what it means, but I know it was important somehow. I'm sure it will help us on our journey. Let's go then, young one. Let's not waste any more time. I left my kingdom strong. It should have only grown stronger in my absence. And if something threatens it now, then I will see it restored.
Oh, you poor soul. Alright, yeah, so we're going to just go down the list. There's going to be a fair number of these. We're going to eventually return the horns, and there'll be more things to talk to him about. But yeah, did you know Seawall? That is the founder of the horns. Which, by the way, if you guys are interested in the lore, you know, I'm just going to be talking to him and then ending it. So I understand if you want to sign off now. It's cool. I love you. Appreciate you. Hope to see you guys in the next one. If you're interested in the lore, I'm going to read through, sometimes giving my opinion. And here we go.
Seawall. He was the first to set foot on Avalon, not me. He decided that if anything were to attack us in this strange land, he would shield me and take the first blow himself. I remember loyalty, a fierce, unwavering loyalty. to me, and to Avalon. He must have been someone I trusted deeply. Perhaps as we move forward, more memories of him will come back to me. For now, I only hope his loyalty wasn't in vain.
Yeah, so about the first landing, I've mentioned this before, but it's uncertain exactly how this went down. It's very confusing because we're told 3 different stories about when he landed, but we're given a very vivid picture of when Arthur first stepped foot on Avalon, and it was very clear that he was alone in my mind. So Seawall must have been like the scouting party type of thing, and because there's varying degrees of like where he first landed, my best guess is that Seawall either first stepped foot on the Isle of the Dead, aka the Island Asylum, when he was scouting, or the Horns of the South, which I think would be more fitting, which would make more sense to me, and then Arthur would have landed on the other one, essentially. So because of the 2 different instances where because the first human to set foot was Seawall, but when Arthur first stepped foot, it was another location. That's how it appears to me. But anyways, why did you leave Excalibur at the Horn? Which, by the way, it really seems like he landed in the Horns, which is why it's a little bit odd. But why did you leave Excalibur at the Horns of the South?
It was supposed to be a reminder. The sword was never just steel. It was a symbol of what we stood for. Strength, justice, the will to carve a path forward. A weapon, yes, but also a promise. I wanted them to remember, to fight for those ideals, to uphold them, even when I was gone, even when there was no king left to lead them.
By the way, about Excalibur, it is known as the Witchblade, which I've kind of mentioned, and also the thing which is confusing in of itself, because it also has a sister blade, which is oh man, what's it called? Caliburn, which if you know Arthurian legend really well, Caliburn is actually Excalibur, but it's like essentially a different way to spell it in Old English, Old Gaelic or something. However, in this game, Caliburn is King Uther's blade, which is Arthur's father, and Excalibur is Arthur's blade, but they're both called the Sister Witch Blades. So we don't really know who made it. I have guessed that it was Morgaine because she's kind of a witch, so maybe she had something to do with it. We were never really told. That being said, it has the ability which it was kind of mentioned briefly, which I'll go over, is that whenever you wield it, it constantly makes you bleed and essentially saps your life force, which is why, watch my lore series, because this might be a little bit confusing, which is why when he did, stick it into the heart of Tuathan, the heart of Tuathan, continuously bled forever. That's essentially what's happening, is that it's just non-stop bleeding. And that is how he was essentially able to ensure that the heart of Tuathan could not be manipulated, is that Excalibur was constantly draining it of life force. But anyways, what do you remember about Merlin?
Merlin saw Avalon for what it was long before the rest of us. He told me that Tintagel wouldn't hold. Not forever. That the weirdness would gnaw at our walls, at our minds, at our very bones, until nothing human remained. But he still fought to map a way forward, to carve some sense into this land. And in the end, the land swallowed him whole anyway.
Yeah, so, I guess I will kind of mention this, is that I think that he's going to okay. How did he die? I won't talk yet.
We were losing the battle at Tuathan's mouth. Our last push before the weirdness took the field. Merlin was with us, bleeding, exhausted, but still weaving his spells,
This is wrong,
Then
by the way.
it came. Not a beast, not a man, not something we ever had words for. A shadow wearing 1,000 torn banners, moving like it had no shape of its own. Merlin raised his staff, spoke a name I didn't recognize. And then he was gone. Not killed, not struck down, just gone. Like the land itself had taken him back.
Yeah, so this is a very different retelling than when you are the eyewitness of what happened. It wasn't at the mouth of Tuathan, right? It was at Riverfall, which is right next to the giant wall. There's like a there's a small what do you call it? It's like a bottleneck that is created, similar to a bottleneck, but it's just a very small strip of land between the wall of Tuathan and essentially a cliff face, and that's where like the battle took place. So it is probably 100 miles from the mouth of Tuathan. So that he's having a mistake here. But on top of that, he wasn't a witness. He was just told of what happened. Of course, he did see what killed Merlin, and he knows exactly what it is at this point. But, you know, so I guess the way he described it, it's probably the way he imagines it, how he was told about it. But the way that it's described repeatedly in the board game is that he was unmade. That verbiage is used time and time again. He's essentially disintegrated and unmade. So that's essentially what happens. But the way that Arthur describes it here makes it appear like, well, couldn't you have just vanished? Like poofed? Because he said a word and then he was just gone. It's like the world took him or whatever. Like that's the way he's kind of the land itself has taken him back. So it was a little bit weird. But it does leave the door open that he's alive. But, you know, he could be. And I have said that before, that it's not impossible, because for him to be unmade, it's like, right, from our perspective, might look that way, but who knows. All right, about the Tomb of Lancelot.
Oh, Lancelot. It was painful to watch what became of him.
How was Lancelot before?
Confident, steadfast, eloquent. Nothing like the tormented soul you've seen. He was admired by the people and by his fellow knights. He had quite the following, though he never seemed to care for it. Only later did I realize how wrong I had been. He was also much sought after. Left a trail of broken hearts wherever he went. But there was only one he ever held in his heart. And that was Avalon.
Did he really betray you?
I always believed Lancelot to be honest to a fault. He never hesitated to speak his mind. And I valued that in him as much as his loyalty. I trusted him completely. And I thought his faith in me, in my vision for Avalon, was just as strong. But it wasn't. I don't know when or how that trust was lost, and to this day, it still pains me. But know this, even in betrayal, Lancelot never sought to serve himself. He was a good man. Yet even the best of men can falter and lose their way.
Do you forgive him?
I forgave him long ago. What saddens me is that he still cannot forgive himself. But I understand why. The rebellion he led hurt not only me, it wounded all of Avalon. And Lancelot always hated senseless bloodshed. To be the cause of so much suffering, perhaps fighting by our side will finally bring him peace.
The creature that Caradoc slew, it didn't look natural. What was it? The creature? Quirko's mom. Right.
That one, I remember. It was a weird beast, born from the nightmare of Pelennor, one of my knights. His family spoke of a legend of the questing beast, a relentless monster that hunted his ancestors without end. He made it his life's mission to slay it, and yet, no such creature existed in the homelands. But when we came here, it appeared before him. Poor Pelennor died the moment he saw it, overcome by terror. It was Palamedes who struck it down. This weird beast looked the same. I can only assume it is a spawn of Pellennor's demise.
Okay. Yeah, so Pelennor, I there's so many knights. I think I have forgotten to list him as well as a knight. And also, sometimes it is a little bit confusing with, like, right, Esther and Ector. I don't know if they're the same person, because typically in lore, they are, like, in legend, that's just an alternate spelling. But anyways, I believe that Pelennor, there is another name for him. Maybe somebody knows, but I don't really recall. But I'm pretty sure there's another knight with the same, or similar name. It might be Peleus, might be the one. I could be wrong about that. But anyways, tell me what the Horns of the South were like during your days.
Ah, the Horns of the South. The crown jewel of these lands. We had barely laid the foundations of Tainted Grail when Seawall and his men had already built a lighthouse, eager to guide our ships to them. He always had a competitive spirit. Of course, it helped that he took every sailor from the homelands with him, along with a handful of knights, so they could learn from one another. And thus, the Keepers of the South were formed. I decreed that every sworn keeper would stand as an equal to a Knight of the Round Table. I doubt they still honor that law. But I am glad to see the keepers grown. In my time, there was only a lighthouse and barracks.
Yeah. I mentioned it before, but... Well, yeah, for one, that is confusing, because, right, Seawall had to have died before the horns were really made, so the keepers must have been formed. They had more like a camp than anything. Seawall then is taken, as well as some of the keepers, for the experiment that Merlin did to make them immortal. And then later on comes the executors who built the lighthouse and presumably also the barracks. I mean, maybe Seawall made the barracks, and then the executors built the lighthouses. And then from there, more than likely, the detachment that the executors left behind joined whoever was at the barracks, and then they created the keepers. That's how it seems. Anyways, the Archspire doesn't look like something built by humans.
I suppose it wasn't. I can feel it guards something primordial within. The markings on the stone resemble the work of the Foredwellers. In my time, such inscriptions would shift and change, making them impossible to decipher. Yet, I met some people who sought to unravel these mysteries. Most of them were Picts. I allowed them to explore Avalon without my oversight. And so, I remember that the Royal Geographers came to be. My favorite band of adventurers. True pathfinders. Avalon owes them a great debt.
Yeah, so to him, he's saying that the Picts founded the Royal Geographers. They couldn't have. Well, I mean, maybe, but when he says it in that way, it's not exactly correct. I don't remember her name, but the most famous royal geographer during the Age of Legends was from the homelands, and she was a royal geographer there, right? It's very clear. Like, she was mapping out the world on Earth, essentially, in the homelands. So when he says that, it doesn't really make too much sense, but I guess what he's saying is that maybe once they reached Avalon, the royal geographers were unable to explore, and essentially he had the Picts commandeer the guild, and then because right, they had the ability to traverse the weirdness in better ways than others could. So then due to that, they essentially were the heart of the royal geographers on Avalon, as they knew the ways to map it out and explore whatnot. But they probably kept the leadership from what they had in the homelands. That's what it appears to me. That's the only way I can really make it make sense. But yeah, I will say there are tons of those things where he's talking about where it's like, okay, this is blatantly different, but you know, there's ways to reconcile it. Do you think? Do you know what the cromlechs were for?
That's a question better suited for Merlin if he was still around. I always thought it was where his druids got drunk and danced naked in the moonlight. He was terribly offended when I said that. Gave me an entire lecture about the delicate balance of life and death, how they are intertwined within nature. That, he claimed, was what the cromlechs were meant to be. The heart of their power. A place where it could be harnessed and cultivated. Still, he never invited me to any of their celebrations. He always did hate when I was right.
Yeah, which by the way, right, Merlin, both in the TTRPG and also in the board game, he is not coming off as a druid to me. To me, it's more so a case of like he just knew all kinds of magics. You know, that's more so the case. Like that wizards to them were people who studied every single kind. And yeah, that's the way that it appears. But I suppose he would be it's kind of like if somebody is a master in like Taekwondo and karate, where it's like, oh yeah, he's a black belt, and that's the way he's kind of described. It's like, well, yes, but he knew a variety of stuffs. But anyways, the King's Road has clearly seen better days.
I suppose it has. A pity it has become a hunting ground for bandits. But do not worry, my friend. Let us walk this path and make me whole again. I will restore this island to the glory it deserves, the King's Road included.
So this one I'm interested in to see if there's anything new. We're almost done. About Kai.
My sister. I didn't think I'd ever see her again. She was gone. I've always felt like I failed her. I was her older brother, and it was my responsibility to protect her. And yet, she ended up taking care of me. And she paid dearly for it.
Yeah, so, yeah, whenever she talks about, like, she paid, well, I'll let him keep talking, but, alright, how do you feel about Kai being the prophet of the Red Church?
I'm still not sure. Kai always stepped into whatever role was needed, and made it fit her perfectly. Blind devotion was never something she sought, but if she thought it served a purpose, I know she wouldn't hesitate. I want to see her only as my beloved sister, but that was never all she was.
Yeah. Kai's life back in the homelands didn't seem very happy.
A half-sibling is only halfway to being a bastard, even if acknowledged. Like Morgaine, Kai wasn't well respected at court. But unlike Morgaine, she never met disdain with more disdain. Just pity. The narrow-mindedness of others usually only saddened her.
To be honest, Kai is one of my favorites, but your sisters seem very different.
Morgaine was proud, and she wore that pride like spiky armor. She was also stubborn, never able to admit she was wrong. Kai was different, softer, but not weak. Quietly unyielding, full of unwavering conviction. Sometimes I envied her for that. But most of the time I was simply grateful.
You sound like you admire Kai.
I do. I always have. She always stayed calm, no matter what was thrown at her. I don't think I ever saw her hesitate. When she made a decision, she was certain. I miss her presence and her counsel. Maybe things would have turned out differently if she'd been by my side.
Yeah, Kai is interesting. I've mentioned this before, but it's very confusing how people are related here in terms of his siblings. Because something we're told very clearly is that Morgaine and Arthur share a mom. We're told that very clearly. So, right. What's confusing is that Morgaine and Arthur share a mom. We're also told that Sir Kay, who doesn't make an entrance in this, is Arthur's half-brother. We're also told that there was... Well, okay, we're told all that. What we're also told is that Arthur is the son of Igraine and Uther. But then we're also told that they had another child after Arthur, who was a girl. And we don't really know who that is. It doesn't really make too much sense to me, but we were never actually told that Igraine personally had the child. We're just told that Uther and his queen later on had the child, but we're never told specifically that was Igraine, but we were never told when she died. Which is a little bit confusing. So one option is that Igraine may have married Sir Ector. Sir Ector and Igraine had Sir Kay as well as Morgaine. And then at the same time, Uther remarried, and after remarrying, had Kai. So Kai was, yeah. So he had Kai, and then Arthur comes up, becomes king, and then right. So and then Kai is like in the court, but now a half. I don't know, a half sister to him because she is, and now it's only his line that matters and no longer it's Uther's. However, at the same time, sometimes Morgaine claims to be a Pendragon, but she can't be. But then that would mean that only Kai's another Pendragon, which he says very clearly that there are no other Pendragons. But, so that's why I'm assuming that Kai must have, renounced her name and was like, no, I'm not part of the family anymore. And my best guess, as I mentioned before, is once he made the people who had the Red Death do their death march, my best guess is that's when it happened, and then Kai wasn't part of the family anymore, because she's like, I can't be part of this. That's my best guess. I'm sorry, that was probably a lot of information, but it is confusing. I'm still unsure about it all. And I understand why there are disagreements as to how people are related, because sometimes it's very flatly different and you have to come up with some kind of a odd, theory sometimes. I mean, it's not that crazy, but there'd have to be some remarrying and people essentially refusing to take on their name. But anyways, the men here, what do you think happened?
I have no idea. The Menhirs were Merlin and Nimue's domain. I was mostly just relieved they worked. Although I've always felt an odd sense of familiarity with them. I think they reacted to the power we now wield. The Four-Dweller element within us. But why and how? That's beyond even my understanding. But tell me, are you well? You were unconscious for a while.
You don't know?
I'm not inside your mind. I can watch, and sometimes I can help, but nothing more than that. Your feelings, your pain, they're yours alone. I cannot take them from you, nor shield you from them. Throughout my life, I've rarely been idle. This helplessness feels unsettling at times.
I feel like I don't know who I am anymore. Don't pretend you care. I'm fine, no need to worry.
Good. That's good. You're admirably resilient.
Thank you.
You remind me of some of my knights. The ones who helped me to build Avalon. Never surrendering, never backing down. We may not have chosen each other's company, but I'm glad it's you I ended up traveling with.
Thank you. I'm glad it is you as well. Alright, what do you think of the corrupted temple?
A great tragedy befell the priestesses there. And to think that the strength of their faith was enough to bind a foredweller. There is still so much we do not know about the true potential of the weirdness. I never imagined it could become a prison for the beings shaped by its will. But that foredweller, there was something familiar about her, as if we had met before, a very long time ago. In her presence, I felt an odd sense of peace, even amid the terror that had overtaken the temple. Strange, and strangely comforting.
Yeah, it does seem a little bit weird that he doesn't recognize it's the Pale Lady, but, you know, I guess his memory's still kind of lost. What do you think of Yvain?
Well, the apple has fallen far from the tree. I don't see the air of Palamedes in him. His ancestor was a ruler devoted to his people. He was even capable of defying me when the situation called for it. I always respected him for that. And Yvain, I see a man trying to please everyone. That is the gravest sin a leader can commit. Decisions are never easy, but they must be made. I see that the current Lord is trying to delay that moment, and I fear it's his people who will suffer most because of his indecision. I know much time has passed. I just hope Palamedes' bloodline wasn't diluted by the carelessness of one of Yvain's foremothers.
Oh man, he really doesn't like Yvain. I don't think he's that bad, dude. Did people always hate the druids this much?
No. My subjects were usually well disposed towards them, grateful for their magic. Merlin was held in high esteem by the common folk. Of course, there was mistrust at times, even open hostility, but never like this. Nobody was ever so twisted by hatred as to herd them into a giant wicker man and set them alight.
Yeah, so this is a little bit odd to me again, because I think that based upon the lore and everything we know, it must be a case where Merlin's apprentices are different than the druids in Moonring. Arthur should know that. But I don't know, maybe his memory's just a little bit fuzzy, because people definitely did detest the druids significantly back in his day. They hated him. The only ones that they really accepted were, again, Merlin's apprentices and Merlin himself. But they did take the druidic magic in a slightly different way. So that's probably why, because they took it a little bit more so from like an erudition, you know, learning standpoint, more so than being fully enveloped, it felt like. But anyways, the Allmother and her priestesses must have seen better days.
Like many things in Avalon, it seems. But yes, they used to be quite influential. Sometimes unnervingly so. They had the ears and hearts of the people, and they made them rather bold in voicing their opinions. As you can imagine, we didn't always see eye to eye. That led to some unfortunate confrontations.
Uh-huh. What do you mean by that?
I couldn't allow people to openly disagree with me, no matter the influence they thought they held among my subjects. The temple's representatives didn't approve of my use of the weirdness during the war.
True.
And they made their opposition public. I decided that such opposition deserved punishment.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Good. War is no time to question the king's authority. Silencing voices is tyranny. Yeah, I mean, as I've mentioned it before, it was like they were dissenting in the middle of a battle, calling for people to revolt. Like that would have led to the slaughter of thousands of troops, and could have spelled the end of humanity at the time. He didn't have an option. Like there was no time to debate. Hey, should he be using the weirdness, guys? I know you're getting shot, but yeah, there was no time to question his authority at that moment.
Exactly. I'm glad you understand that. People called me a tyrant, but it was thanks to my decisions that we won the war and claimed Avalon as our own.
Precisely. I completely agree with that. Arthur is the once and future king. Alright, well, we're going to be ending it. Whispers 9. Okay. But yeah. Yeah, I hope I added some stuff to that. I mean, I'm sure that some of you are interested in my views on that, because I know the lore more than the average person. But again, that's why it's very confusing, and it's also sometimes I might say things in the lore that, based on what Arthur just said, would be wrong, but it's something where I have to find a way to couple, you know, two different points of view. And I guess I'm kind of thinking that the eyewitnesses at the Age of Legends take precedent over everything else because they're eyewitnesses. You see it personally. So due to that, I know that's what happened. So whenever he says different stuff, I have to find a way to reconcile it, where it's like, okay, either he's misremembering because he's, you know, fractured, or it's a case of like, well, maybe from his perspective, he sees it that way, but, you know, there are other perspectives. But anyways, we're going to be ending it here, guys. Let's go photo mode. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please like and subscribe. And yeah, if there was an issue with the video, please leave a comment as to how I can improve things in the future. And yeah, hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. So yeah, see you later. Bye-bye.